Hello everyone, my name is Nathan, and today it's time for another episode of Stationeers. In the previous episode we have set up this new power corner, so to speak, and we also set up these displays. Now, a bunch of people mentioned that not all of these displays are necessary, and I'm totally aware of that. However, I do like to see everything displayed, and as I told you, we are going grandiose, and we're not going with the most practical stuff. For instance, today's topic is gonna be totally unnecessary, but it's actually a cool project. What I would like to achieve in today's episode is an actual clock. I want to be able to tell how long it actually takes for the sun to rise up, and I want to do this in a 24 hours format, just like you're supposed to do. Wink wink, Americans. Now, there is going to be one major problem, namely the sensors. These guys actually work in a way so they only count to 180 degrees and then they go backwards again. Therefore, we have to set up a whole set of logic. This is actually going to be quite exciting to achieve. Now, before we get this started, let me just run you through the calculations I was thinking of. First of all, if we place a sensor on the ceiling, then it is actually counting from 90 degrees. So as soon as the sun comes up, that is 90 degrees, and I want to mark this spot as 6 o'clock. As the sun rises to noon, so 12 o'clock, it is at 180 degrees, and then it goes backwards again. And that is, as I said, when you have the sensor on the ceiling. Now 0 o'clock until 12 o'clock is going to be considerably easier to achieve. All we have to do is calculate 4 minutes per 1 degree of solar angle. So that means at 0 degrees it is 0 o'clock, because 0 times 4 equals 0. At 90 degrees it's going to be 6 o'clock, because 90 times 4 equals 360, which divided by 60 minutes results in 6 o'clock. Finally, 180 degrees times 4 equals 720 minutes, divided by 60 equals 12 o'clock. So that's pretty straightforward. However, after that the sensor goes backwards and we are basically screwed. Therefore, once we reached 180 degrees, we have to switch into another calculation. So for every degree we lose now, we actually want to add some time. That means when we get back to 90 degrees, I don't want to be at 6 o'clock, I want to be at 18 o'clock. In order to achieve that, I set up a calculation we can use exactly for that. We still want to start normally by multiplying the degrees we currently have times 4, but then we want to add something. So if we are still at 180 degrees, then of course we still want it to be 12 o'clock. However, as soon as we go back to 179 degrees, then we want the time to advance instead of going backwards. Therefore, we have to add something, so a plus. What we want to do is we want to take the current degrees we have, and we want to subtract them from the total degrees available. So it's always going to be 180 degrees we have available. However, this end result we want to multiply again by 2 in order to not only get back to the initial 12 o'clock, but add the time that we are missing. Maybe let's exemplify this with 90 degrees. If we calculate 90 times 4, it results in 360, so that would be our 6 o'clock marker. However, now we not only have to add 6 hours to that, but 12 hours. Therefore, once again, we calculate the 180 degrees minus the current 90 degrees, multiply it by 4 in order to get the minutes, and then again times 2 in order to add the missing time. At 90 degrees, this results in 1080 minutes, which results in 18 o'clock. Last but not least, 0 degrees times 4 plus the 180 minus 0 times 4 times 2 equals 1440 minutes, which is 24 hours. So all we have to do is basically switch to mode 1 as soon as the degrees reach 0 and switch to mode 2 as soon as we reach 180 degrees. Pretty exciting, isn't it? I love it. Maybe before we set up the entire electronics, we should think about how we want to do the mode switching. I guess one way to do it would be using APC units. What do you think about that? We could have mode 1 in this square, more or less, and then mode 2 is gonna go into this square. Yeah, I'm totally down for that. We actually have 2 power controllers right here, which is perfect. So let's think about that. The power should come from the other side. So let's swap this around. And I don't necessarily want to make these guys visible, so I think I'm just gonna plot them right here. Good, let's open these guys up. We're gonna need 2 batteries. I'm just gonna go with large ones. That should be enough. Okay, mode 1. Maybe let's turn this guy on first of all. We're gonna close this again. And I also want to rename this. Let's see, APC clock, and this is gonna be mode 1. Therefore, this guy is gonna be APC clock mode 2. I guess a good start would be to actually hook this up to the system. All APC units need to connect directly with my batteries here. Next up, we're also gonna need a sensor. I think I'm just gonna place that right here on the top. I think it doesn't really matter where or how you place these guys. They don't necessarily need to see the sun. Important is that it's placed on the ceiling, so it starts at 90 degrees when the sun comes up. There's one problem though with making 2 of these units. I might actually have to make 2 different sensors for each of the units, because they are separate circuits, and if I hook them both up to the daylight sensor right here, then they are not separate anymore. Yeah guys, we're going all the way overboard. I just want this clock to be a 24-hour clock, and we might take it to the extreme with being wasteful. So if you hate watching wasteful Let's Plays, this is not going to be for you anymore. There we go. We got our first sensor hooked up. It doesn't show anything just yet. I think this is just a data slot. They probably don't even need the power. Now that's what I was talking about. Before we continue with anything, we need to be sure that we know how to switch the 2 modes. Because right now, for instance, mode 1 would activate at 0 degrees. And it would deactivate at 180 degrees, and this guy would do just the other thing around. But I cannot really control this APC unit, which was my intention with this sensor, because it's behind the unit. It should be in front of it. But if it is in front of it, then I'm gonna run into troubles as well. Do we maybe need a 3rd sensor in order to switch the modes? We're just gonna do it, guys. If I can think of something better, I'm gonna do the optimization, but for now, we're just gonna set these guys up. That means we're gonna need 2 comparison units and 2 memory units in order to set up the degrees we want to switch. So one of these units is gonna be set to 0, the other to 180. Next up, we are going to need logic processors, comparison unit. Let me see, maybe I could have set up these units a little bit better, to be honest. Yeah, let me fix that quickly. Okay, cool. The sun is coming up and we can see it already passed the 90 degrees mark. So we are raising all the way to 180 and then it's going to be noon. Now let me actually finish this toggle functionality and I'm going to be right back. You can see I set it up a little bit better now. I'm still going to need a writer unit, but I need to think this through in my head first. I don't want to beat around the bush here. I'm just going to show you once this part is done. Alright guys, it is like an hour or so later. I tried to make this toggle functionality and it just drives me insane. There's just no way I could figure out how to permanently toggle between 2 APC units. Maybe you guys actually have an idea. So currently my son is with me in the room. He's kind of playing around. I hope you don't mind the occasional noises from him. You want to say hi? That's my boy. Anyways, what I've done at the moment is I set up mode number 1. What we have here is a reader that is reading from this unit here, this sensor. And then we have a writer which is going to write to this display. And then finally we have the math unit, which is going to take memory 4 because we needed to multiply our solar angle with 4 in order to get the minutes. So possibly I'm gonna need yet another math module in order to actually translate that into minutes. But yeah, I will have to think about that. Let's first see whether or not it works actually. What I want to do is first get the solar angle. So we're gonna choose our daylight sensor. At the moment, it's just this single sensor. Of course, what do we want to read? We want to read the solar angle. And if we turn this on, then we should get the angle. At the moment, it's decreasing, of course, because we should be in mode 2 at the moment. Anyways, the next thing we want to do is we want to take this reader solar angle measurement and then we want to multiply that. So multiply with 4. So we want to use our memory 4. And then, of course, we should be getting a result, which is... Hold the phone. That's not 0, is it? Okay, I know what I did wrong. I didn't set up this freaking memory module. Of course, we want to set this to 4. Just naming it 4 doesn't really help. So there we go. Finally, we have the proper minutes. What we have to do now is, of course, divide it by 60, and that is going to give us the proper hour. That means I'm going to set up another math module and another memory module, and then, of course, set it up. So I'm going to be right back. Alright guys, we are back, and as you can see, it is currently counting. So at the moment it is 11 o'clock. Of course it is a decimal number, those are not really minutes, but what we could do is kind of round it up. I don't want to do any crazy things with calculating minutes and displaying it on a separate display. But we might just, display the full hour eventually. But for now, you can see, as we went to 12 o'clock, actually, the clock reversed and it is now going down. And of course, that is bad. That is not what we want. So I thought what we could do is we could go through the calculation we established previously. So at the moment, this writer is writing stuff to the display. But what I want is this writer right here to do it instead with a different calculation. I already set up all of the math units I'm going to require, and what we are gonna do is we're gonna take the result we're getting here. So these are the actual minutes. Those are what we need. Therefore, we're taking the information first of all from mode 1 math. If you have a look at this math unit, you can see I named this math plus everything. So the input right here would be from the mode 1 math. So let me see if we can find that. There we go, mode 1 math, and therefore if we enable this, we should see the same thing. Actually, something is flashing an error here. Of course, we are not really doing a calculation at the moment. You can see I called this plus everything, so everything we are getting together here, we need to add to our current number. So maybe let's do the rest of the calculation in the brackets first. The first thing here is 180 minus the angle. So I did set up a memory module right here. Let's make sure we are also setting it to 180. There we go. So let's take the information from that module. Memory 180, and the other thing we want is the solar angle. So we just have to go with the daylight sensor basically. We have that in the mode 1 reader solar angle from over there. So now we have the correct state. What we want is we want to subtract it. So let's enable this guy, and we can see at the moment it is 71, so that's good. The next step would be to multiply it by 4. So we take the mode 2 math 180 angle thingy-majingy, and we want to multiply it by 4. And of course we have a module for that already set up. Memory 4, of course it is called. So let's enable this as well, and we can see now we have this number multiplied by 4. Now we need to take this number and multiply it by 2 once again. Our input is mode 2 math 4, so let's search for that right there, and we want to multiply it by 2. And of course I'm gonna require another memory module to set up this number. This one is gonna be called memory 2. And of course we shall not forget to set up this number, value 2. Okay, let's go ahead and search for this input. Memory 2, beautiful, enable this, and now we have 909, and you can see the number is actually going up. This is great. So at the moment the time is going down, but this number is going up, so we are on the right track, guys. Now let me see, we should be able to take this number here from math 2, so let's grab that. Mode 2 math 2, and if we add that, we have that here, add, then we get 1220 something. Okay, that means last but not least we need to calculate this into minutes. So we take the input from math plus everything, and we want to divide it by memory 60, something like that, and then we should be getting the hours. Look at that, it is 8 o'clock at the moment. Can this be? Anyways, last but not least, we need to set up the brighter display here. The input obviously is going to be math min 2 hours from mode 2. Right there it is. And then the output is going to be our display, of course. And what we want to do is we want to set up the settings. So what we should toggle now is the 2 writer modules. So I disabled this guy and I enabled this one right there. And now we can see it is 9 o'clock, almost 10 o'clock at the moment. That is great, I love it. So really the only thing I'm missing is a way to toggle automatically between this logic writer and this logic writer. Not both of them can run at the same time. Anyways, let's see what happens once we reach 24 o'clock. Then of course it should count backwards again, and this would be the moment where we want to switch, and it would start from 0. But it is going to be a 24-hour clock if we manage to do the toggle functionality. Alright, there we go. We are almost at 24. It should count backwards again. Perfect. Okay, so now I would disable this guy, but instead enable this one here. And we can see it is counting upwards again. Now I just realized something. I could let both of these guys run, but if I disable this guy, for instance, then it's gonna show the 12 to 24 version, and if I enable it, it's gonna show the 0 to 12 version. I don't even have to disable this. So really, it's easier than that. All we have to do is disable and enable this guy at the right time. But I have no idea how I would manage to do it. So for instance, if the display reaches 12, then we want to disable it, so 12 to 24 can go on. And then once we reach 24, we want to enable it, so it starts from 0 again. Okay, I'm thinking, what if we say, once the display is higher than 12, so we're gonna do a greater than comparison, then it should be in mode 2, but once we reach the 24 hours mark, then it should switch back into mode 1, and therefore it is considered below 12 again, and it should remain in mode 1. But that is a slight problem. That means I need to be able to switch between these two modes. But this guy here, this writer, doesn't seem to be the dominant one. So let's think this through again. As soon as we reach 12 o'clock right now, then we would want to disable this so the clock continues. It's really the other way around. Such a bummer. Okay, that did not quite work out as I intended. For some reason it's always switching between the two stages. So I basically just measured if it is above 11.9, then it should switch into another mode with this writer, but then it just toggles on and off here. I want my automatic 24 hours clock! You know, there are a couple of other functionalities we have with the math unit. We don't only have to compare, we have unary and we have min, max and select. I have no idea what these three units do, so maybe that's one thing we should research. But before that, of course, I want to swap again between 24 hours and 0. And there we go, it is midnight, and therefore we want to swap the mode. I just love it. Now we only need to round the numbers, I would say up to 2 numbers beyond the point. But I guess together with the toggle functionality, that's something we are gonna take care of in the next episode. Such a shame. But yeah, I'm still happy we actually do have a clock now. I was always wondering what the time is, but now I do know. There's just one beauty mistake we can fix together. But with that out of the way, thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Have a great time, and hopefully I'm going to catch you in the next one. Bye bye.